And good morning, everybody. It is Friday, October 23rd, 2020, and this is the Ray Hanania Show. I am Ray Hanania, special U.S. correspondent for the Arab News newspaper and columnist and media consultant here in the U.S. This is one of our special Friday morning programs, and we have a special guest I'm going to introduce in a minute. The Ray Hanania Show is brought to you on the U.S. Arab Radio Network on WNZK AM 690 in Detroit, Michigan, Ohio, and Southwest Canada. Proudly sponsored by the Arab News newspaper, where I write op-eds and news and features. And of course, sponsored by many other businesses, organizations, and charities, many Arab American. The Arab News newspaper is the Middle East's leading English language print newspaper with editions in Saudi Arabia, Dubai, Japan, Pakistan, France, and bureaus in London, New York, and Chicago, where I am based. And flipping on my screen here, all this technology. The U.S. Arab Radio Network was launched in 2005 by journalist and radio network founder Layla El Husseini in an effort to energize and empower Arab Americans. Joining me this morning is a friend of mine, a journalist, a writer, and a school board activist who's running for re-election in the Dearborn School Board district. He's been on the Dearborn School Board since April 2019. Adel Mozip. Adel, thank you for joining us this morning on the radio show.
My pleasure, Ray. Thank you for having me.
And you're running for re-election then, correct?
Correct. I was appointed last year in April.
Okay.
That's what a re-election campaign.
That's what I was going to ask. So you were appointed, and that's a great way to get into politics, and especially.
Absolutely. Well, I ran two campaigns before, so
yes,
it's been a challenge.
Has it really? What's the big issue in Dearborn? In the Dearborn
Dearborn
schools?
is the diverse city with more than 100,000 people. Obviously, it is dubbed as the Arab capital in the U.S. With half of its population are from the Middle East or from the Arab world,
we're trying to steal that title away from you here in Chicago. Okay, we want to be the capital.
Yeah,
we're the Plymouth Rock, we're going to say. But go ahead.
Right. So just Dearborn politics is hard. It's hard politics, and you have to really prove yourself, and you have to get in front of many different voters who have very different views. And I ran two campaigns. I was not successful, but I gathered a lot of support from all over the city. And in 2019, when the time was right, I was appointed to the board, and I've been on the board for now a year and a half. And I'm really happy to advocate for our students and for our teachers. And now the pandemic hit, and it put a lot of strains on us as a school board to decide on whether to bring in students in person or to stay online. And it was a very difficult decision to make, one of the most difficult decisions that the board has come to. But I'm here to always advocate for equitable allocation of resources for all of our students, all of our teachers and staff who have been amazing during this pandemic. Amount of support that they've given our students, and I'm really proud of each one of them.
And the pandemic has to be a real problem for schools, especially for kids, and it's been going on now since March, and I just don't know how people survive. How is the coronavirus impact in the Detroit schools and in the Dearborn schools in the Detroit region? Well, what's it like? I mean, are you having a real serious problem? Some areas of the country are.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
As of right now, we're still virtual. There are some learning labs where students go in person, but it has disrupted the learning process heavily. Students learn best at the classroom with their teacher, and that hasn't been the case. They've been virtually online, meeting online, and that is a big issue to many students as well as teachers. As we know, virtual doesn't really substitute in-person classroom teaching. And families are frustrated, obviously, because they have now to put in a lot of time to help their students, to help their children. And teachers are also as equally frustrated, but they're also feeling unsafe to go back in the classroom. I would say that Dearborn numbers and Wayne County numbers are abnormal to the state of Michigan.
High, you
They've
mean?
been
High
yeah,
or low?
higher
High.
than
Wow.
usual.
Really?
Yes.
Why is that?
So
Why do you think? I mean, is it, but I know in some areas of the country and in where I live, it has a lot to do with the local officials not taking coronavirus seriously. They don't wear the face mask. They want to open up, and there's a lot of pressure on everybody. We're boxed in. We're tired of it. There's fatigue, and we want to pretend like it's not there, but it is there. Is that a
absolutely.
problem
So
out in Dearborn? People are
it
just
is,
tired and
and I think the social events have contributed to that as well. People's disregard to all of the precautions of wearing masks or social distancing hasn't been the case. So, and it's unfortunate that it's a selective few that have to ruin it for everybody.
yeah.
I think if people are really boxed in and during 1 month in June or March, we would not be in this place.
So
Um,
maybe if there were a
but
tougher crackdown,
I
where
think so.
they just shut down
And
for a
people have
couple
to take
weeks.
precautions.
Yeah.
This virus is deadly.
Yeah.
People may say, it's only affecting the 0.5%, but one life is too many. And
Yeah.
why would you lose one life over this virus? But we still, I acknowledge heavily that we have to live with this virus moving forward. We cannot stay as the current status quo of being online the whole time. I think that also adds a lot of pressure and adds a lot of mental issues. So there has to be a balance. I think returning to school has to be gradual. And that's what we started at the district with the learning labs. Unfortunately, they had to be paused because we exceeded the positivity rate in our county. So I'm hoping that this will come back and that we will start to have a gradual start to the school year, where students would attend 3 days of the week and then do kind of a hybrid model where they attend 2 days of the week from home.
Yeah, and I know that running for, because I've covered politics 45 years, I know that running for the school board sometimes isn't the highest priority with voters. We got this big election coming up November 3rd for president. There's probably legislative races in Dearborn
Oh, yeah.
and other
Mhm.
races. Is it tough getting attention for the school board race? Or do you have a lot of organizations, for example, in your district that are really pushing this election and race? Do you have a lot of backing?
Yeah. Well, traditionally, as you said, Ray, usually the school board race is the last person a voter would look at. But
Yeah,
frankly, it is the most important seat, or it is the most important race that voters should look at because it affects them on a daily basis. We make
right.
decisions that affect them on a daily basis. And it's very important and heavily important that people really need to look at who's running and why they're running, what are their qualifications, and will they make sound reasoning decisions when these tough decisions come to be about, and will they be accessible? So voters have to really look at down the ballot. They have to flip it to see us. That's another challenge. Some voters just go and vote for president and senate, and they're done. And it should not be the case. You should be flipping the ballot. You should be researching the names of the candidates. There have been a lot of forums this year, virtual ones, where candidates, answer questions,
Right.
and then that has been a plus. And I think, the current pandemic and people paying attention now to school board meetings has brought more light into. I have to really look at those candidates and what they stand for. So I encourage everybody to go out and research all of the candidates, research my record, research the colleagues that are running right now for the seat. There are 3 seats for 6-year term, and there is 1 partial 2-year term. And there are 8 candidates running for the 3-year for the 3 seats, which are the full term seats. So
Are
it's a
you
big
running?
deal.
Are you running for a full term seat or
Yes,
the 2?
I'm
Or
running.
so
I'm running for the full term.
so
Yeah,
that's
one of
6
the
years.
4.
You said 6
Yes.
years. Yeah,
Yeah.
and people, as you were pointing out, people don't appreciate the importance of school districts until they look at their tax bill. School districts usually are the biggest amount of money that you pay, and for a good reason,
Right.
because we want to make sure that the kids get the best education. But it's ironic. I don't pay that much for the federal, for president. Most of my taxes go to the county and the state and fire districts and police and park districts and schools, the biggest chunk. So they should pay attention to it. How's the and I know in Dearborn is a very strong Arab American community. Is this Arab American race, do you think, or is it pretty diverse? I mean,
No,
I'm
the
always
race is
interested.
sure. The race is very diverse. I believe there are 5 Arab American candidates, and there are 3 non-Arab Americans. So um, I don't think
Is it
race
an issue in
plays a
Dearborn?
huge.
No, I'm
As far
always
as race, yeah, sometimes I think so. People do vote race lines,
right.
but I think for the most part, voters are smart. They do look at like qualifications, and they look at what the candidate brings,
Right.
and usually they do look for experience. Name recognition plays a huge role as well. So it's a mix of everything together, but race does play a role in elections.
It's got to be fascinating to be Arab American in Dearborn because you are bumper to bumper with Arab American officials, Arab Americans running for office. Where I live, if you have one Arab American running in a race, it's rare, and
Oh,
and it's very hard for them to win. So the question is always, do I vote my ethnicity? Which I don't think people should do. I think people should vote issues first. And then if it
absolutely.
happens they're equal, then yeah, I'm going to support a Arab American, but why not support anybody, right? So I'm always
I
kind
would
of,
always vote for the most qualified person.
yes,
Doesn't matter where they're from and what religion they are, or where how they were raised. If that person is going to serve my district well and is well qualified, I would give them my vote. However, I would say in the same tone, representation really matters.
right.
Same for even we have Khadr Farhat, who is running also for a 6-year term, who is legally blind. So you have people who are representing different ideas, different things that you will never be able
Right.
to continue, speak for. Such as people who have challenges and special needs. It is important to put that in perspective, and to also consider that when voting. So there are so many things to consider when you consider a candidate, including their background.
And I know you have a busy schedule coming up. You got a lot of stuff to do. Running for office is not just sitting back and Zooming. I know you still have to connect with voters. It's got to be tough connecting with voters in today's world. It's easy for me because to do interviews, it's amazing. The coronavirus has made it easier. I can connect with you a lot easier. The Zoom, I wish I bought the stock when it first came out. It went up 750%.
Yeah,
But as a candidate, that's got to be rough. So you got to rely on direct mail. You got to rely on online things. It's tough to go out you can't
Yeah.
really knock on doors, right? Because people,
Yeah, and in the last two campaigns, I knocked more than 12,000 doors.
yeah,
And my volunteers probably did a little bit more.
isn't it?
But this year, it's been really rough. Obviously, you cannot knock on doors. So we've been just doing socially distanced events here and there, and also utilizing social media heavily to talk to voters. And mailers has been probably the biggest expense of my
Right,
campaign.
right.
So that's the only way to reach voters right now. And especially even social media and TV. Obviously, we can't do TV ads, that's too expensive. But we've been really bombarded as a state that is um, a toss-up state. So ads have been heavily
Yeah, you're competing with,
targeted. We've been targeted by Republican and Democrat ads, and also we have a really hot race for Senate.
so
So we've been really bombarded.
yeah, there's the fog of war, basically, the fog of the election. You have so
Yeah.
many people focused on Michigan at the presidential race that it must be even harder to remind people and say, hey, don't forget about the local race. Adel, I know you only have a couple minutes left. Is there anything else you want to mention that you think is important that I didn't ask you about? And also tell us your website where people can go to get information.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. My website is adelmozip.com, adelmozip.com. I'm rerunning for the seat because I believe that Dearborn schools could be a leader in learning. I'm running to ensure quality education for our students, to have strong schools and happy educators. I have been endorsed by the Dearborn Federation of Teachers. That's the largest union in our city. And I'm really proud of their endorsement. I'm also endorsed by the Dearborn Fire Association, and I respect them as well. I also have the support of AMPAC, the American and Arab Muslim Political Action Committee, as well as Engage, SEAM Caucus for special ed teachers and staff. I'm sorry, non-teachers and staff. And I don't want to forget WPAT as well, the Yemeni American Political Action Committee, and so many people from all over the city that I'm really proud of. I've been really involved outside my realm in education and social justice and environmental justice. And I still serve as the vice president of our neighborhood association and a member of Dearborn Rotary and the League of Women Voters. I also, Ray taught for 3 years at Access, teaching students technology, leadership, financial literacy for a program sponsored by Comcast. I also brought a mentoring program to Edsel Ford High School 6 years ago, and it's still happening until today, to elevate students and empower them, connecting them with professionals.
Adel,
So I have a track record.
Let's take one phone
Yeah.
call from one of our listeners, Jerry Haba, a great guy. Jerry, ask a question, let Adel answer it, and stay on the line because after the break, I'll bring you back and we'll talk about the presidential race, your feelings on that.
Sure.
But go ahead, Jerry, our call in 248-557-3300. Go ahead, Jerry.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Ray Hanania, and good morning to your guest, Mr. Adel Mozip. Good morning.
Good morning, Senator.
Morning.
Ray, thank you very much for bringing Mr. Adel Mozip. I do have a lot of respect for this man. He's indeed a true Arab, Middle Eastern American, and we are very proud of his service, not for the city of Dearborn, but among all the Michiganders and the Middle Eastern community. So we wish him the best luck. My question to Mr. Adel Mozip. Mr. Adel, regardless Republican or Democrat, we should vote. We should vote, all of us,
Absolutely, yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Adel Mozip, that the local election, they are the base to reach to the top of the pyramid. I know we have the presidential election to choose who's the next president of the United States. So no problem about that. We will put our vote. But Mr. Adel, when it comes to Dearborn or either the west side and the east side, we should feel we are all one community. When I like to see candidates from Middle Eastern in Dearborn, I'm a Chaldean Christian in Warren or something like that. I won't hesitate to vote for somebody from Dearborn if I know he's the right person to do. Exactly like in Dearborn, we do have a lot of candidates, Chaldean in Sterling Heights, Mr. Eric Ishaqi, Mr. Clint Castu, Mr. Grillans Dad. We have to vote for those people because to be in this country, we have to have representatives for our community. So I would love your answer, Mr. Adel, and I wish you the best of luck. And God bless you. God bless America. And thank you to Mr. Ray Hanania and Ms. Layla Al-Husseini for this show. I appreciate Adel.
Thank you. Thank you, Ustad Najib. And it's my pleasure to represent every single Dearborn resident on the Dearborn School Board. I have been advocating for all of our residents and to making sure that we have quality education in our district and Henry Ford College. One of the things, Ray, that the Dearborn School Board is so unique. It's the only one probably in the country that governs two institutions at the same time. So we don't just govern Dearborn schools, but we also have a college that has more than 13,000 students, Henry Ford College. So the Board of Trustees, they sit on both institutions. And it has been my pleasure serving both as well.
All right, Jerry, thank you for the call. Adel, I know you can stay on a little bit longer, but I got to take a commercial break. So
Sure.
why don't we do that? Let's go to break, and when we come back, we'll continue a few more minutes with our guest, Adel. I'm Ray Hanania here at WNZK AM 690 Radio on the Ray Hanania Show, brought to you by US Arab Radio Network and the Arab News newspaper. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back right after these messages.
Read the Arab News newspaper for the latest on the U.S. election, the battle for president, and breaking news and unique stories on Arabs in America and the world online at arabnews.com. The Arab News newspaper is the leading English language newspaper in the Arab world, with editions in France, Pakistan, Japan, Dubai, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and bureaus in London, New York, and Chicago. Join the more than 5 million people who follow the Arab News on Facebook, online at arabnews.com.
Scott's Mediterranean Market and Shish Kebab offers a great array of your favorite Mediterranean meals. Meals range from lamb specialties, shawarma sandwiches, seafood dinners, and they offer special big trays of your favorite food, plus much more. Kushat's Mediterranean Market and Shish Kebab address is 32839 Northwestern Highway in Farmington Hills. Their phone number is 248-538-9552. That number again is 248-538-9552, and the supermarket is open from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Kushat's Mediterranean Market and Shish Kebab will definitely leave you satisfied.
Life is a nonprofit charity that's provided humanitarian aid and development to people and communities for over 25 years, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. When disaster occurs here or around the world, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. Please help improve these efforts. Make your tax-deductible donation to Life now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493. Get ready for an amazing experience at Ishtar Restaurant on 15 Mile Road in Sterling Heights. Enjoy excellent hospitality from owners Ali Al-Baghdadi and Fatty Bottom, serving the best in Mediterranean food. Try Chef Ali Al-Baghdadi's famous shawarma, the best Iraqi grills and food, and the best Arabic and international dishes. Dine in our authentic atmosphere or take out. Call 586-698-2585 or check us out on Facebook. Ishtar Restaurant practices all CDC guidelines and is open every day at 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Have an amazing experience today at Ishtar Restaurant, 3625 15 Mile Road, Sterling Heights.
And welcome back to the Ray Hanania Show here at WNZK AM 690 Radio, brought to you by the U.S. Arab Radio Network. Layla El Husseini's great effort to empower and energize Arab Americans. Radio is a powerful forum to address issues, and I think more powerful, especially now with the things like Zoom and everything, to connect with people. It's basically just like television with Facebook. You can watch us on our Facebook page at RG Hanania on Facebook. And we're also sponsored by the Arab News newspaper. On the line with me is a friend, someone I've known for a long time, Adel Mozip, who served on two statewide commissions, very active, and was appointed in 2019 to the Dearborn School Board. And he's running for re-election to a 6-year term for the Dearborn School Board. I know he has a tight schedule this morning, but it's interesting, Adel, because the only race I know of where we're guaranteed to have an Arab American elected to office is in the 50th district in California for Congress between Darrell Issa and Amar Campanajjar. One of them is going to win. So I know how many. I'm just curious again, and I agree with you that it's about qualifications and experience, not just ethnicity. But how many Arab Americans are on the school board, and does that become an asset or a disadvantage when you run in a district like in Dearborn? To be Arab American.
Currently, we only have 2 trustees who are Arab Americans.
Out of how many board members?
Out of 7.
Oh yeah, you should have more than basically, right? We got to get you on more. There. Yes. Have you brought any stuffed grape leaves to board meetings? You can't do that. See, because of the coronavirus, you got to bring Arabian food. We win over all the time.
Oh yeah, well, of course. But it is interesting that in 2018, when I ran, unfortunately, you have people who run campaigns just to defeat others. And
right.
It's the politics, as I said, in Dearborn, hard politics. So you end up, Arab Americans defeat themselves kind of thing. So it is important to have diverse representation of the entire community on that board. And for that board to be successful, it needs to really adequately represent the student body and reflect the student body on that board, so they can address all of the issues, all of the problems that are concerning the community at hand. When you have a board that doesn't adequately represent the student body, then you run into a lot of issues like groupthink, out of touch. So it's crucial that representation is there, and it needs to be adequate. It needs to be the same number of students. You have the same number of board members.
Yeah, it's interesting, and communities need to have representation because each community, we're like everybody else. And yet we have to struggle much harder. I'm a little surprised that they don't have more Arab Americans on the Dearborn School District, but I understand our culture. We're victimized all over the world because we're Arab. We then tend to, instead of fighting with people that victimize us, we tend to fight among ourselves. So you run for office and someone else gets mad because why are you running? And they may never have thought about running for office in their life, but you've provoked them by running yourself, wanting to do good, and then they run for office, and then that splits the vote. I see that all the time in elections. I'm always hopeful, though, for Dearborn. The election is November 3rd, and you are on the ballot in the Dearborn School District for voters to support. I've known you a long time. You're a great guy, very smart. Do you have
Thank you.
kids at all, Adel, or are you married?
Yes, I'm married. I have 2 kids, and the oldest attends Gear Park Elementary.
So they're in the school district.
Yes.
Yeah, that's always important.
Oh yeah, it's very important.
And are you satisfied with the school district? Can they do more? Is there something that you want to do?
Well,
to kind of
there's
strengthen-
always room for improvement. However, I want to say that our school district has been doing a heck of a job, especially during this pandemic, meeting students where they are. There are gaps, and there are sometimes areas where we don't meet the students where they are, and that's why we need to demand more. We need to hold the superintendent accountable as well as the president of the college. But frankly, during the past 6 months, the district has been doing a great job, I would say, on many fronts. But we still have a lot of improvements to do in the future.
All right, Adel, listen, thank you for taking the time to join us this morning. I really
My pleasure.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Ray, for having me. I truly appreciate it.
Absolutely. And if you want to get more information on Adel Mozip, go to his website at adelmozip, ADELMOZIP.com, adelmozip.com. Adel, good luck.
Thank you, Ray.
And we're looking forward to celebrating with you and others. I know
Absolutely.
it's you're going to do a
Thanks.
great job in the school district to continue to.
Thank you so much, Ray.
All right.
Have a
You're
good
welcome.
day.
You have a great
Bye-bye.
day. Thanks, Adel. This is Ray Hanania here at WNZK AM 690. We're going to take another quick break just to catch up with our ads. And afterwards, we'll come back. And if you want to post a question on Facebook, this is being broadcast live on my Facebook page at RG Hanania, RGHANANIA. You can, or you can call 248-557-3300, 248-557-3300. We'll take some questions. I want to look at the presidential debate last night between Joe Biden and President Donald Trump. It was a different debate in terms of how they each managed to control themselves better. So we'll talk about that. We did a show last night after the debate for the Arab News that's broadcast on their Facebook page at The Arab News, facebook.com/The Arab News. If you want to watch that, you can find it there. The Arab News website is arabnews.com. So let's take another break. And then when we come back, we can take calls and talk with listeners about the presidential race. And Michigan is a big, is in contention. And it's one of the battleground states, and it's because it was very close the last time. I think Trump only won the state by 11,000 votes, which is razor thin. I'm Ray Hanania here. It's Friday, October 23rd, 2020, and we're going to take a break, and we're going to be right back right after these messages.
Water covers 71% of the world, and the Arab News newspaper covers the rest, with breaking news from across the Arab and Muslim world and the latest on Arabs in America. Get inside the headlines with expert analysis and insight at arabnews.com. Join 5 million Facebook fans who stay in touch with the Arab News, the Arab world's leading English language newspaper, online at arabnews.com.
Ziad brand. Quality products from our family to yours. Ziad Brothers Importing offers the finest quality products, including brands like Sultan, Kraft, Nestle, Hook, Rico Picon, Donna, and many more. Ask your retailer to carry these fine products because you deserve the very best. For more information, visit our website at www.ziad.com. That's www.ziad.com. Ziad, quality products from our family to yours.
When you're looking for the best in optical care, Dr. Imad Nakash is your doctor to see. With years of experience and thousands of successful procedures performed, you can trust your eyes to Dr. Imad Nakash. See Dr. Imad Nakash and his professional staff for your eye care needs. There's 2 locations to serve you. In Hazel Park, call 248-336-3937. 248-336-3937. In Rochester Hills, call 248-299-3937. That's 248-299-3937.
At Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic in Dearborn, we provide effective physical therapy sessions in order to limit pain and discomfort. Top Rehab provides physical therapy care for any diagnosis prescribed by a physician, and we regularly see and treat conditions such as stroke, TMJ, fibromyalgia, sciatica, joint pain, and more. We use a variety of pain management methods, including modalities, soft tissue mobilization, and therapeutic exercise. If you're in need of physical rehabilitation or physical therapy, get the highest quality health care at Top Rehab. Most insurance is accepted, and we're open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday 8 to 6, Tuesday and Thursday 8 to 5, and Saturday 10 till 2. Call for an appointment today at 313-846-0555. That's 313-846-0555. Choose Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic on Michigan Avenue in Dearborn. Life's too short to be in pain.
And welcome back to the Ray Hanania Show here on a special Friday, October 23rd, 2020. I'm Ray Hanania, U.S. Special Correspondent for the Arab News newspaper here on WNZK AM 690 Radio in Detroit, Michigan, proudly sponsored by U.S. Arab Radio Network and Leila El Husseini, who strives to empower Arab Americans to be more engaged in our societies. We're Arab American, but we're American. Some of us like to say American Arab to emphasize the American aspect, but either way, I think it's quibbling a little bit. But we're part of this country. We need to be involved and engaged in this country. That includes in elections, and we need to have our voices heard. And I know that that's a big battle in Michigan today, where there is a large Arab American population, and they can make a difference in this upcoming election in, I think, maybe 10, 11 days, coming up November 3rd, 2020. President Donald Trump is running for re-election, and he's being challenged by Joe Biden, who was the former vice president. The debate last night, I don't know if you watched it. I thought it was interesting. There's not much to do around this time with the coronavirus except to watch the things online and on television, and listen to radio shows like this, hopefully. So I think they got a big audience, and I think they did a better job. Both of them presented themselves well. I thought Biden, he didn't use the name calling that, characterized his performance during the first debate. And Trump didn't interrupt Biden this in last night's debate the way he did during the first debate. But I still felt that the issues, they did get into some issues. They talked about a lot of different things. I think I made a list over here. Coronavirus, national security, healthcare, economy, employment, immigration, race in America, climate change. It just didn't seem like any of those issues really stuck. It seemed like they pandered, and maybe not pandered. It seemed like that their messaging was connected to their voters. But the people in the middle, I can't imagine anybody being undecided at this point, right? Pretty much everybody's decided, but that's not a good thing for Biden. Of course, in Michigan, all he needs to do is just overcome that 11,000 spread that Trump got, but both sides are working really hard. And, it's easy to say, that Biden is, his popularity, according to the news media polling. Now, you can't really believe the news media polling because the news media polling is based on popular, vote. They're looking at the whole country, and Biden is doing better than Trump because the Democratic states, which are dominated by Democratic voters, are really pumping up a lot of strong turnout. issues of race and, immigration are issues that work with African American and Hispanic minority communities in the United States. So that really kind of brings out their vote. Although I think the Hispanic community, their turnout is always very, very low. African Americans, though, on the other hand, they vote out, they come out and vote in really up to 90% of their vote, like white Americans, I think. Arab Americans, I think we're voting more. We have more at stake in this race. President Trump's policies toward Arab Americans have not been that great. And Joe Biden's, his policies weren't that great to Arab Americans either, but he did take one step toward giving us some recognition, meeting with Arab Americans. I understand his wife, Jill Biden, Dr. Jill was in Dearborn at that beautiful pastry shop there in Michigan. I'll think of the name now. I haven't been in Dearborn for a number of years now. Shatila Bakery. I love going to that place. It's just a beautiful atmosphere where you can sit down and enjoy a cup of coffee, or at least you could, and you probably can now, but with the coronavirus, it's so many restrictions. It makes it very difficult to really get out and enjoy the world. But it was nice that she actually made a stop there. And her husband, Joe Biden, the former vice president, actually put out a 6-page paper. And during last night's post debate discussion, I had Ed Gabriel on, a great guy who was with Arabs for Biden. And he was talking about why he believed Biden did a great job yesterday. And I think everybody tended to agree that their candidate did well to their supporters. I'm not sure how many undecided people are out there. I'm sure there are some. And I think some are in the Arab American community. It's hard for Arab Americans to support Trump given his policies in the Middle East. And there's been a lot of controversy, but on the one hand, we blame Biden, or we blame Trump for not liking. We don't like those policies, where he's kind of proposed a deal of the century that wasn't very good of a deal for Palestinians. But we don't really engage. We should have engaged, obviously, the president. I think that Trump would have engaged with us and we could have changed the plan. But I think deep down, a lot of our community doesn't want peace. They don't want compromise. I think what they really want is to turn the clock back to 1948. That's the angry segment of our community, the emotional segment of our community. They can't get over the past. And no matter what is presented, they're going to oppose it, as they did when Yitzhak Rabin and Yasser Arafat shook hands, signed a deal, tried to make it work. That doesn't mean that they're the only ones opposing the deal. The Israeli side, the Jewish community, opposed the deal too. There was a significant extremist movement in the pro-Israel and Jewish American community that fought against peace and pumped a lot of money into the right-wing government of, at the time, Ariel Sharon and Benjamin Netanyahu. They did everything possible to destroy that. And of course, we were easily baited as a community. They baited us and we took the bait because Arabs were emotional. So we don't think with our heads, we think with our emotions. And that really undermines our effectiveness. I'll tell you what, Mike, let's take our final break so I can get us back on schedule. We kind of extended Adel's because he, I wanted to make sure we do local focus, and Adel Mozip is running for the Dearborn School Board in the election. He's been on the board, appointed in April 2019. His website is adelmozip.com, ADELMOZIP.com. If you're a candidate and you want to showcase or say a word about your election, you can call in at 248-557-3300. We'll put you on for a few minutes. Adel was smart enough to reach out and contact me and say, hey, can I come on the show? And I think that would be great. We're going to take some calls, but at 248-557-3300 in a minute. But as soon as, and we'll do that right after we come back. But Mike, let's take our final break here at WNZK AM 690 Radio and the Ray Hanania Show. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue the discussion on the presidential election, what you thought of Biden and Trump's performance, and how you think Michigan is going to vote on November 3rd. You be the pollster this time. Don't believe everything you read in the media. They're very anti-Arab, and I don't care, about the Trump Biden race. The media sucks. They're terrible. They promote racism. They thrive on racism, and Arab Americans are the easiest target to be racist against in the news media because we're so dysfunctional and disorganized, and we fight among ourselves so much. I mean, we actually spend more time fighting with each other than we do with the people that oppress us. So let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue this discussion. I'm Ray Hanania. We'll be right back right after these messages.
Are you going to start a restaurant or grocery store soon? Do you need floor plans and designs? Call Najee Abood at 734-744-9796. Do you want to buy kitchen and restaurant equipment at discount prices? Call Najee Abood now, 734-744-9796. New Concept Products and Design, the trademark of kitchen equipment. 5% discount on all purchases of $75,000 or more. New Concept Products and Design, new location, 31185 Schoolcraft in Livonia. Learn more at www.newconceptproducts.com. Call Najee Abood, 734-744-9796.
إلي ساعة عم بستناك مشان نروح نتغدى بالشام.
الشام؟
إيه بالشام ومو بالشام.
شلون صارت هي؟
بدل ما نروح نتغدى بالشام
ايه
جابوا لنا الأكلات الشامية الطيبة لعنا لهم.
وشلون بقى؟
هذا مطعم دماس عم يعمل كل الأكلات الشامية الطيبة هو.
وطيبة؟
طيبة كتير.
شرفوا نتغدى سوا بمطعم دماس.
الأكل الشامي الأصيل فقط بدمس كوزين. زوروهم على 28841 أرشد لك بفارمينغتون هيلز، ولطلباتكم اتصلوا على 248-987-4609. That's 248-987-4609. دمس كوزين and catering، جبنا لكم الشام لعندكم.
When it comes to reproductive medicine, IVF Michigan Fertility Centers are the recognized leaders. With locations in Bloomfield Hills and 5 other cities in Michigan and Ohio, IVF has experts in all aspects of the field. As a founding member of IVF Michigan Fertility Centers, Dr. Nicholas Shama is one of the leading reproductive endocrinologists in Michigan and Ohio. Dr. Shama has performed over 10,000 IVF cases and has helped thousands of couples fulfill their dreams of parenthood. American board certified in both obstetrics and gynecology and reproductive endocrinology and infertility, Dr. Nicholas Shama is a very caring, compassionate, expert physician that understands not only the medical but also the emotional toil of infertility on his patients. When it's time, get personalized care from Dr. Nicholas Shama at IVF Michigan Fertility Centers in Michigan and Ohio. Call toll-free 855-952-9600, 855-952-9600.
And welcome back to the Ray Hanania Show on WNZK AM 690 Radio on the U.S. Arab Radio Network, founded by Layla El Hosseini, I believe back in 2005. That's a long time. So we need to give her support. U.S. Arab Radio Network has been giving my show a lot of platform and exposure, and I appreciate it. We're also sponsored by the Arab News newspaper, which this week we have another show here on Wednesday morning. You want to listen to that because we're going to go through a poll that was commissioned by the Arab News through YouGov, and they're looking at a lot of the issues in the presidential election. So we will have a panel of people that will join me and talk about the YouGov poll on Wednesday morning. So you want to be here for that. I think it's really fascinating because they really dig deep into how Arabs think about the election. And it does give us a sense of why things are happening the way they are and how we can adjust ourselves too. So it was very influential, I think, back in 2016. The poll that they did showed that Hillary Clinton, there were a lot of, it seemed like she had a lot of support in the Arab community, but we also discovered that a lot of Arab Americans didn't want to admit that they were supporting Donald Trump. So if you were doing the poll anonymously, you could get a better feed. But once you were identified, there was a sense of not wanting to tell the truth. So the polling was skewered. And of course, popular vote pretty much, unfortunately, drives the polling in the media, which was wrong. Every media poll in 2016 was wrong about the election. Hillary did get 3 million, almost 3 million more votes than Donald Trump, but she lost the delegate count because most of those votes came from certain states where Democrats have unusually high presence. Let's go back to the phone lines. I think Jerry wanted to ask another question or comment about Biden and Trump and the debate last night. See if Jerry's still there.
Yes, Mr. Ray.
Hey,
Thank
Jerry.
you. I'm sorry to bother you.
No, you're not. That's why we have a radio show. I want to be bothered.
Yeah, about the presidential debate last night, I believe Mr. Ray was much better, 1,000 times than the other presidential debate. They were both of them, the both candidates, they were kind of professional, even sometimes interrupt each other, but it was much better. And I do believe, Mr. Ray, if you agree with me, the moderator, what's her name, Miss
Kristen Welken.
Better than Chris Wallace.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But here's the problem with last night's debate. What was the big? I agree with you that both Biden and Trump conducted themselves better, and that made it easier for the moderator to manage the thing. But but what was the big issue that came out of the debate? Think about it. What did you leave the debate with about an issue that you thought, wow, that was great?
To be honest with you, Ray,
Yes.
I do the responsibility to lead this country from both candidates to serve the American people and the security of this country. And then they bring the corona issue, and those they were very important topics. I do believe, Mr. Ray, this time President Trump, he was more fair. He was not attacking Vice President Biden's son Hunter about the issue. It was less attack. I believe they were focusing on serving the country, being a president for all Americans, regardless of black and white, Arab, Asian, African. So I do like that. And they were both looking for the better future for the United States of America. And that's what we need, Mr. Ray. I don't want to think of myself, I'm Republican or Democrat. I want to feel I'm American. I want to give my vote. And I encourage everybody, give your vote without you saying I'm with a Trump or Biden. Just do your job as an American. Now, Mr. Ray, my question to you.
Real quick.
We Iraqi Chaldean. Did you reach out to those Iraqi candidates, Mr. Clarence Bass for the Circuit Court of the United States, Mr. Clint Castro for Commissioner for Oakland County, and then you got, what's his name, Eric Ishaki. He's running for Congress of the United States.
Listen, Jerry, I gotta let you go, but I'm going to answer that question. They should reach out to me. I mean, that's one of the things that candidates should do. They need to reach out to the media, and they don't do it very well. Let's take a final question from our friend Layla Hosseini, who's on the line. Layla, you still there?
Yes, I'm here, Ray. Thank you so much for all the great coverage you're doing for the elections, and we really appreciate it. I mean, you added a lot, and our listeners really appreciate all this great coverage. Ray, I have one question to you. Who's going to win this election and why? And I'm
Oh
gonna
boy. Listen,
Leila.
Leila, fortunately, there's not a lot of time to get into it, but I'm honestly going to tell you, it's not that I favor, honestly, I don't favor one side or the other. I did in 2016, I favored Trump over Hillary Clinton because I was a Bernie Sanders supporter and I was angry with the way Hillary ran and controlled the Democratic National Committee unfairly. And I didn't want that kind of politics running the country because I think it would have been terrible. Trump has not been a great president for the US, but at the same time, he has done some good things. And the country is divided in my estimation because the mainstream media is the evil culprit in the problems that we face. I don't blame Trump. I don't blame the Democrats. I do blame the mainstream media. They become partisan activists for candidates. I honestly think Trump is going to win. I do believe that Biden is going to get more votes than Hillary did. He's going to beat Trump by 4 million, I think, 4 million votes in the popular vote. But I think most of those votes are going to come out of the Democratic states that he already has. And I think he may take Michigan. Biden may take Michigan, but that's still, he needs several states. Michigan, he can't just do it alone. If Trump loses Florida, then Trump loses. Michigan and Florida, then Trump loses. But I don't know. It's going to be really close. And I just don't see Biden. For Arab Americans, he's really reached out to us. I think that's a great thing. But they all should. And Trump should. And he hasn't. And that's a terrible thing. But, you know,
Absolutely, but we're not going to see the result on November 3rd. Am I correct, right?
I think you're right. I think with the mail-in ballots, we're going to end up going another week before we actually know the final thing. And there's going to be a lot of ugly back and forth. That's going to be an ugly week. And we can't even take a vacation. We're stuck in our homes. Layla, listen, thank you for calling. And of course, all the work you do since 2005 to put the voice of Arab Americans out there so we can engage the political system and the public can hear what we have to say.
I have to say this, right? Thank you so much for your advocacy. Thank you so much for being great journalists. Bring things together and do this very important coverage during this very sensitive and important elections to bring facts to our community. Thank you so much for all your efforts. Have a wonderful weekend. I'm looking forward for your next show on Wednesday.
Wednesday
Thank you,
morning.
everybody.
All right, come here, everybody. Be back Wednesday morning. We're going to do another show on the election before the November 3rd election. I'm Ray Hanania. I got to say goodbye. Thank you so much. Go to hanania.com or arabnews.com for more information. Thanks, Mike. Everybody have a great week. We'll talk to you Wednesday morning. Bye-bye, everybody.
The views expressed on the preceding